Informative, entertaining and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
His last week's performance at the Allianz Française during the Showcase Wednesday was one of the most anticipated, as it was his first ever performance as a secular artist.
And the Grammy goes to... Oh, come on. Twice as tall. Burna Boy.
This is a big win for my generation of Africans all over the world. And this should be a lesson to every African out there.
Nafanya good music kama nilivyosema. Na trust melodies, na trust my talent, na kazi nayoifanya. Only that.
To Sumbo social media date, but of course we knew it was.
Are you sure these two are not dating?
What do you
Come
mean?
on.
They are not. It was just for the song.
Baby, I never thought that come a day Ninga fall in love like this. I never thought that come a day.
To get Change Your Thinking Skizatune, dial star 811 star 961 hash.
When you change the quality of your thinking, you change the quality of your life. Sometimes instantly, just as positive words can make someone calm, smile or laugh, your thoughts will react to the world in real time. So, change the quality of your thinking.
Dial star 811 star 961 hash. Star 811 star 961 hash.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News. Well, we have a comprehensive bulletin lined up this afternoon. My name is Jackie Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Caroline Njoroge. And now to kick us off, we shall be crossing over to Baragoi, where Samburu Governor Lati Lelate has called on Samburu and Turkana elders to regularly engage in peace talks to foster unity and solve emerging conflicts. Lelate was speaking after holding peace meetings in Baragoi, Samburu North, where he noted that the ongoing drought is creating more conflict as pastoralists scramble for grazing areas and water, which has become scarce.
Wakuwe mandugu, wakule nyasi pamoja na tutoe hii kisirani ya vita katika Baragoi hii.
Next Saturday, we are going to have a mega meeting between all the communities, including the young people from the Turkana and the Samburu community.
Wakati huu hii marti ni yetu sisi wote. Akipata Msamburu akinywa maji, patia nafasi anywe. Mimi nikipata ndugu yangu nimwambie tafadhali ukipata Mturkana akinywa maji, umpe nafasi anywe. We are all brothers.
Napenda amani, napenda Turkana na Samburu akae pamoja. Kwa sababu roho yangu anataka amani.
In other news, Kisii County is set to construct an ultra-modern state-of-the-art facility for health training following the Kenya-UK Health Alliance Agreement and the Sustainable Urban Economic Development programs that was signed in January 2021. The facility is set to train healthcare workforce to UK standards as well as adopt various UK curricula to fit the residents' needs.
Nairobi, while issuing a briefing on the agenda implementations, Kisii County boss noted the Center of Excellence for Health Training will be anchored on an eco-friendly ecosystem being developed by the Kisii municipality under the UK-funded Sustainable Urban Economic Development Program.
The center will train health workers to UK standards and adapt various UK curriculum to fit our needs.
Arati lauded the initiative, saying once implemented, it will go a long way in benefiting the residents.
The proposed medical city will support other medical schools in 3 other universities in the Lake Region Economic Bloc, in the hub and the spoke modally, namely Maseno University, Masinde Mriru, Egerton University.
Arati further noted that through the SUED program, the municipality has an extensive urban economic plan detailing key value chain and climate-resilient infrastructure development projects geared towards unlocking the economic potential of the county.
The SUED program is also supporting 3 value chain in municipality: avocado processing, banana value addition, integrated waste management.
We'll be opening the factory in November. This factory will have 100 direct jobs, but equally important, it will also bring the avocados from 3,000 farmers across the Kisii County, which means more revenue for those farmers and the potential to grow that even further.
Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
Property of unknown value was destroyed after a fire razed down several business premises at Ilbisil town on Sunday night. The fire, that is suspected to have been caused by an electric fault, began in one of the retail shops before spreading to other shops, butcheries, hardware and a petrol station.
This is what was left after the 3-hour fire incident at Ilbisil town. Traders struggling to come to terms with the reduction of their properties to ashes. According to the locals, their attempts to put out the fire were futile.
Tumelipukiwa na moto kubwa sana ambayo imesababisha madhara makubwa, hasara kubwa, imeteketeza jumba nyingi sana, biashara za watu. Tunakadiria hasara ya hali ya juu sana.
Tumeona kwamba hatujapata msaada yoyote kutoka
They now want the county government to give assistance to the victims through the county emergency kitty.
Tuna rasilimali, tuna mali ambazo hizi biashara ndio sinalipa zile ushuru ya kusimamia biashara zetu kulindwa, na hata hiyo serikali kuwa na pesa. Tunashangaa sana tunapokuwa watu wanajanga kama hili, hatuoni msaada.
Ningeomba county ya Kajiado wapambane. Ikuwe kazi kama hii kitokea, magari ya moto ikuwe alert, communication unit ikuwe na strategy ambayo wanaweza okolea watu mapema wakati visanga kama hizi zinapotokea.
Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
Now, operators of public service motorcycles, popularly known as boda riders in Georgia, are accusing motorcycle dealers of being behind theft of motorcycles in the area. The operators say they have lost over 30 motorcycles in Georgia in the last 3 months to thieves who they suspect are selling the motorcycles to dealers as spare parts.
Hata sasa penye iko Pikipiki ni mingi sana. Hapo kwa matangi zimepotea more than 30. Na zote hakuna tujipewa ripoti. Tumeambiwa ati imepatikana ama haijapatikana. Hatupeangi ripoti. Sasa tuko na shida sana. Tunaomba serikali iingilie kati. Itusaidie sana. Sasa sisi tunaumia. Mtu amechukua pikipiki ya loan, amelipa 250, inarudi inaenda. Wakati amemaliza tu kulipa hivi inaenda.
Kulipa for a period of kitu 10 months ama wakimaliza watu wa kampuni yenyewe wamechukua wanakuja kulingana tukishuku watu wa kampuni ya Dudhi wanakuja naiba juu ya na truck wanajua madudhi ziko wanachukua after kufuatilia kama yangu ilienda juzi after kufuatilia kama mimi nilifuatilia juzi siku yote tumeshinda kufuatilia sijapata response nikipiga simu naambiwa wanafuatilia lakini watatupea feedback hatujapata hadi sasa hatujapata hawaja communicate anything hadi sasa ndio tunasema hata serikali at least waingilia tu waone venye watatusaidia.
Vile ilikuwa imeibiwa mimi niliwapigia simu nikawaongelesha wakaniambia nilireport 5 kwao imeibiwa, lakini sasa saa 3 ya usiku ndio walinipigia simu kuniambia pikipiki yangu truck inaonesha iko na manga. Hiyo masaa yote hiyo time period yenye hiyo kutoka 5 hadi saa 3 wangekuwa wameshaniambia mapema mahali pikipiki iko ama mahali wanaionea, mimi ningetafuta jeshi yangu na ninaweza enda nao mahali iko.
Stakeholders in the fight against female genital mutilation are now pushing for education related to creating awareness on the outlawed practice and other cultural issues to be entrenched in the curriculum. In a campaign dubbed Tubonge and Comrades, the Crusaders met in Nembu County, which has been flagged as an FGM red zone as it is among 22 counties where the vice is still practiced.
Speaking during a campus dialogue meeting, Professor Kiplagat Kotut from the University of Embu observed that currently some pertinent issues affecting the society are only covered as extracurricular activities.
What we can even do more is to see how some of these things find their way into the curriculum. Yes, we do this, but a lot of the time you find that this is covered as, extracurricular activities. They are not directly inbuilt into our curriculum, and even when we do it, the curriculum does not really give a lot of prominence to some of these issues.
Anti-FGM Board Chief Executive Officer Bernadette Resianlo Juju noted that it was time to change tact as perpetrators of the vice have found new ways of circumventing measures set by the government.
So tukasema ni vizuri tuweze kulete wanafunzi wa chuo kikuu katika hii conversation ili kesho juu wao ndio watakuwa wazazi, wakitoka hapa wao ndio wazazi, watakapopata wasichana katika familia zao waweze kuzuia ama waweze kuhakikisha ya kwamba wale wasichana wao hawatapitia ukeketaji.
Catherine Diakunu from the Men and FGM Foundation observed that more men are involved in the fight against the outdated practice.
Kishafunza hawa wanaume ama hawa vijana, kwa sababu wakati mwingine tunaitanga dugu wa wasichana. Unasikia after mafunzo, unasikia mtu akikwambia kutoka leo mimi sitakeketa msichana wangu.
Medicalization, where nurses perform the cut, and cross-county FGM practices were cited as the biggest challenges to the fight against the practice. For Lunchtime News, I'm Samuel Karaoke.
Now in other news, residents of Kongoea in Nyali constituency, Mombasa County, are calling on the government to come to their aid after a private developer destroyed a section of the stormwater system. The residents want the construction works at the site adjacent to the community halted immediately, saying that since a perimeter wall was constructed, houses have been flooding. Majority of the affected families have allegedly lived in the area since the 60s and have been seeking the government's intervention to acquire title deeds to no avail.
Huu ujenzi unaendelea hapa nyuma usimamishwe sababu kuna vurugwa system ya drainage system ya water storm ambao kwamba imebeba mji mzima wetu wa Kongoea si chini ya watu 20,000 na huku mbele karibu na hiyo system maji yanapofurika na tuingilia katika majumba. Tumechoka majumba yetu kuozeshwa namna hii.
Tusaidie kwa title, jambo la kwanza. Jambo la pili, tunataka wao wenyewe wafike hapa waone ile hali tulionayo. Maana tunaumia hapa ni watu wengi zaidi. Sasa kitu tunachotaka sisi ni kupitia hiyo mambo ya title. Mimi nazungumzia mambo ya title.
And now on matters of human-wildlife conflict, a 60-year-old man is nursing serious injuries at the Garissa Referral Hospital after being attacked by a hyena in Raya village. Abdi Afi Mohammed was attacked by the lone wild animal while tending to his livestock in his farm along Tana River.
Abdi Kafar Yusuf said his kin, Abdi Afi Mohammed, was attacked by a marauding hyena that strayed into the village and started attacking heads of goats. The commotion attracted the attention of Abdi, who rushed to the scene only for the wild animal to turn on him.
Na pia tuko na hasira, hiyo hasira imetoka kwa pande ofisi. Hiyo ofisi ndio inaleta shida kwa sababu ile inasababisha ni mambo ya ukame. Na hiyo kama inakujanga wakati tulipanga na drought. Hiyo mambo ya drought inasababisha hiyo ofisi kuja watu.
Huyu mzee ni kama hasikii vizuri, ni kama ni bubu, ni deaf. So ni kama hakuwa amesikia wakati alikuwa anaapproachiwa na huyo ofisi. So hiyo ofisi ilimwattack na kapata jeraha ya macho, mapua na kichwa.
Villagers came to his rescue and rushed him to Garissa Referral Hospital after killing the hyena. Area residents have called for the involvement of Kenya Wildlife Service to help drive away wild animals that have been roaming in human settlements.
Serikali wakuwe na macho, washughulike na hizo mambo. Na hiyo mzee sasa ako kwa theater. Hasa hatujui mambo hali yake itakuwaje, hatujui. So tunaomba serikali wakuje waone hiyo mzee. Na mzee sasa hata wakati ile mambo ilitendeka, tulimita hawa watu wa game wakakuja pia hiyo mzee walibeba wakaleta kwa hospitali.
Dr. Hussein Iman, a general surgeon at Garissa Referral Hospital, noted that this was the fourth incident of a hyena attacking humans in the county in recent times.
Huyu ni mgonjwa wa 4 sasa ambaye amevamiwa na fisi. Ni kama hii tukio hili ni kama inaongezeka. Kwa sasa ako stable, ingawa ako under anesthesia, lakini tutaangalia vile atatoka anesthesia, lakini ako stable kwa vile ako sahihi.
Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Elvis Otieno.
And now on matters education, Kakamega County Women Member of Parliament Elsie Mohanda wants a legislation that will govern the school feeding program. Mohanda says she will be tabling a motion to compel the government to fund the program as part of fighting malnutrition across the country. Now speaking at an event dubbed Good Breakfast campaign organized by Blue Band, the legislator said the ongoing drought has even made it urgent for the full inception of the school feeding program.
With the onset of drought and hunger affecting adversely school-going children, Blueband manufacturer Upfield donated 200,000 shillings to Kilimani Primary School in a bid to combat the effect.
We know there's parents who would literally have to give the parents, the children what they need, but sometimes they are not able to. So this is the reason why we as Upfield are committed to this program, educating the parents on the need of good breakfast, because we know very well that if the children have a good breakfast, it's going to be a good start in school. They will focus on their work, they will be able to develop their full potential.
Speaking in the event, Kakamega County Woman Member of Parliament Elsie Mohanda say there is need of introducing school feeding program and have it anchored in law. Sentiments echoed by Nairobi Deputy Governor Njoroge Mushiri, who lauded the initiative and called on more stakeholders to come on board.
As I go back to Parliament, I think we should do legislation which will compel us to give each child at least a meal. Because so many of our children are going to school without food. I think food should be a basic need, so that when a child goes to school, at least they can have one decent meal.
This is why we are committed to introducing the school feeding program to allow our children concentrate better in school and hopefully ensure 100% transition to secondary schools. We are looking to capitalize on public-private partnerships as well as work with different counties to source this food.
The program, which commenced in 2016 to tackle the serious issue of poor nutrition in school-going children, has so far benefited 2 million children.
Good Breakfast Challenge, organized by Blue Band, targets to feed over 100,000 school-going children before the year ends.
And now across borders, Burkina Faso's military leader, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Damiba, who was ousted in a coup on Friday, has formally agreed to step down. The announcement followed attacks on French institutions after it was reported that he was sheltering at French military base.
This is the second coup in the Burkina Faso this year, where in both cases the country's dire security situation and failure to deal with an Islamist insurgency has been blamed on the takeovers. Experts say that Burkina Faso controls as little as 60% of its territory, and Islamic violence is worsening. The African Union has demanded the return of constitutional order by July 2023 at the latest, agreeing with the regional group Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, that the ousting of leader Lieutenant Col Damiba was unconstitutional. ECOWAS earlier said it was inappropriate for army rebels to seize power when the country was working towards civilian rule. No statement has been released by Damiba directly, but religious leaders said that the lieutenant had offered his resignation himself in order to avoid confrontations with serious human and material consequences. Meanwhile, Brazil's election is going into a second round in which left-winger Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva will face far-right incumbent Jair Bolsonaro. With almost all votes counted, Lula had won 48% against Bolsonaro's 43%, but Lula fell short of the more than 50% of valid votes needed to prevent a runoff. Voters now have 4 weeks to decide who will lead Brazil. In other news, as Russian President Vladimir Putin announces the annexation of swathes of sovereign Ukrainian territory, issues nuclear threats and mobilizes hundreds of thousands of reservists, the response from Ukrainian forces on the Eastern Front continues to be unchanged. The Ukrainian forces said that they will fight for every last inch of their country's soil and that they will fight Putin's army and make them retreat from their land. In their views, the referendums conducted by Russia will change nothing, as they maintain that Ukrainians will not be dictated to at the barrel of a Russian gun. For Lunchtime News, I'm Joanne Wangari.
Now, in other news, the right to adequate housing is a human right recognized in the international human rights law as part of the right to an adequate standard of living. But for the residents of Mukuru kwa Jenga informal settlement, this remains a pipe dream. Lucy Ngulu brings you the plight of residents pushed into squalor after their houses were demolished by alleged developers in October 2021.
The bulldozers arrived without warning nor niceties. They landed on the houses that Patricia Katole and Gideon Mutua had called home, as well as a source of earning. No one could stand in the way of the monsters. They came tagging along police officers armed to the teeth to ensure that no one resisted the onslaught on their structures. Katole has lived in Mukuru kwa Jenga for over 25 years. She has earned her income in form of the rent charged on her tenants, but today she is a squatter living in squalor.
Kama mimi nilikuwa na tuploti tatu tule tulikuwa nasomesa watoto nayo, hata hakuna kitu nimeokoa. Wakati wa kupomolewa pa kulala hatukukuwa na mahali pa kulala popote.
The door to her shack, made of carton boxes and tattered pieces of cloth, say it all. Her life now in outright contradiction with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal #1 that advocates for freedom from poverty through access to basic human needs of health, education, and sanitation. It undermines Sustainable Development Goal number 8 on the need for access to decent work and economic growth that would have ensured that people like Katole live livable lives.
Ndio tumekuja tukajenga hii mahema. Sasa baada ya kujenga hii mahema, na mimi nimeona janga kubwa sana, mimi sijawahi iona tena. Nilikuwa na watoto wako shule. Hata nilikuwa sasa nimerudi nyuma kabisa.
Even with this, Katole has ensured that her 2 children get an education up to university level. The situation is not any different from Gideon Mutua, who has to borrow a basin to take a bath. It is a debasing life that they have to endure.
Hapa tumepata shida mingi. Kwanza shida ya njaa, malazi na kuwa hatukui comfortable. Kwa vile sasa mtu analala vile hakuwa analala there before. Na hiyo ni shida moja tumeface hapa.
As for the youth, they are unable to make a headway in life as they join the rest of the slum dwellers in the unforgiving straits of city life in the shacks. An elder, Gideon Thuranira, has lived here for over 20 years, and he avers he had never seen anything like this.
Kutoka 1995 hivyo tulikuwa tukikuja tunapata kuna wale wenyewe walikuwa hapa wameshika shamba. Tukikuja tunapimiwa na viti kiasi fulani, halafu unatoa pesa kidogo. So tulinunua kwa mambrokers. Baadaye ndio tulirudi kujua hii shamba ni la mwenyewe, na tukajua ya kwamba ni la Orbit Chemicals.
His hope is that the residents will find a reprieve once the government is able to resettle them. Chief Evans Munene, who has been on the forefront to find a way out for the residents, says the government has plans to resettle the victims of the eviction.
At the same time, tunawashawishi watu wasikae pale kama hakuna biashara mtu anafanya pale, sababu maisha lazima iendelee. Tukingoja mwelekeo wa koti, maisha lazima iendelee. Kwa hivyo hata kama ni pesa kidogo unayo ama ile kibarua unaendaga kila siku, unatafuta njia ya kujikimu kimaisha, tukingoja mambo mengine ya serikali.
What stands in the way now is the ruling expected from the courts.
Wakati koti itatoa mwelekeo, hiyo mwelekeo tutafuata. Kama kuna njia badala, ndio tutafuata tu, serikali itapena mwelekeo. So hata sisi tunangoja mwelekeo wa serikali.
Even as this goes on, the residents continue to suffer the indignity of having no shelter over their heads. What reprieve is there for the slum dwellers of Mukuru Kwanjenga, forced into squalor by faceless developers? Will their questions be answered someday?
Well, that report brings us to a fast break here on Lunchtime News. Don't go too far. We'll be back with more news.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Are you a holder of unclaimed financial assets? Take advantage of the Finance Act 2022 moratorium on penalties and interests. Surrender any unclaimed financial assets in your possession today. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
The thing I've been looking into, I've got something. Tell me.
Who put you under this spell?
What spell? There's no spell.
Oh! Tell me what happened.
How dare that Green Hills Fairy come here and disrupt the gathering? Completely inappropriate.
Kali, What kind of game are you playing?
All we have to do is kill Betsy over there. Then I'll be the only one in the world who looks like this. What are you doing? No! Go away! No!
Hiko mtu mimi anaona anakuja kuharibia mimi, anakuja kunimagia unga. Hii ni chapati, ni mbao ama ni nini? Wewe ndo uko na wife.
Unachuaga sinaga mtu, kabaki mkiwa mabosha.
Hii kitu mko interesting.
Ni nyanya man. Sijui ni nyanya ya nani. Babes.
At KBC Channel 1, we put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
Welcome back. Ever wondered how the internal heat of the earth, otherwise known as geothermal, is processed into electricity? Let's focus on geothermal power generation.
We are here at the Kenjan Geothermal Generation Plant in Naivasha to get to witness the process of geothermal power production. We're taken to the steam fields, the actual source of geothermal power.
Once then, of course, the geoscientific team has identified the area. The infrastructure comes in to do the well sites and also the access roads. Now, once that has happened, then that site is transferred to another department called Drilling and Logistics. Now, Drilling and Logistics are responsible for drilling of the well.
The team goes to the field, then we collect data, and that data is what is used to site the wells. A suitable site for us to be able to drill that well.
The process of geothermal power making begins here. The steam comes from the steam fields through steam inlets on either side of the plant to allow the steam to flow more efficiently into the turbine.
And the turbine is laid such that you can be able to ensure the steam flows from two sides so that it is very efficient. It expands very efficient from the first stage to the last stage.
The steam enters the power plant and goes through a separator that separates the water and the steam and ensures that no water gets into the turbine.
Once the steam is at the plant, then we will take it through a steam scrubber, and the objective is to remove any water that has remained or that has come with the steam.
The steam must be 99.99 dry to be able to operate the turbine in a safe way. The dry steam enters the plant and rotates the turbines at 3,000 evolutions per minute. Once the turbine rotor rotates, it also automatically rotates the generator because the generator rotor is within the electromagnetic field. Electricity is then generated.
And once the generation or the turbine rotor rotates, then it rotates the generator rotor.
The electricity is generated at 11,000 volts and later to 22,000 volts to be able to be transmitted to other areas. Once power is generated, it is transported from the generator through giant cables that are inside a protective cable casing that protects the cables from interference or accidents and carry the power cables from the generator to the transformers. We then go to the control room.
So from here we can see the whole plant overview.
Once the steam or the condensate has been used to turn the turbine, it is exhausted into the cooling tower basin and condensed back to water.
So this is the final stage of the process. After the steam has been converted to electricity, transported through the electricity power grids, and then the steam comes in through the condenser into this cooling tower at 105 degrees Celsius. It is cooled to 23 degrees Celsius. It is then re-injected into the re-injection tank where the process begins all over again.
Nisi Manokoth for the process.
And now on health matters, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers want the government to heighten surveillance along common borders with Uganda and the Western Transport Corridor to minimize the possibility of an Ebola outbreak. Now, union officials led by the chairman Peterson Washira and the Secretary General George Gibora are raising concerns over the general preparedness of the country and counties along the Western Transport Corridor deemed as most at risk. The leaders spoke as they inspected counties' preparedness to tackle the virus. Kenya is yet to register any case of Ebola.
We hear the issues of Ebola. This is a very fatal disease that is killing people. And we need to say that in our assessment we have found very key information whereby we find that our borders are still very porous and there is no check system that has been put in place. So that's to mean there is no clear surveillance which is there. Yes, we want to applaud the government that already there have been around 20 cases that were suspected to be Ebola and have been tested through Kemli and were found negative. That is better. But we want to say categorically, if any case were to turn positive, the issues and the strategies that need to be put in place are not very clear. One is that when you announce, for instance, last week we saw a lot of pronunciation from the ministry. They announced that we as a country, we are ready to ensure that we can be able to handle any case if tested positive. But you cannot manage this disease on the table. This disease is managed in the field. So as we have been moving around in the field, we have found clearly that healthcare workers have not been sensitized. We have not set a psychosocial support to these healthcare workers. Surveillance is not happening. Because if you don't do this, what means is that the surveillance is down and also control of this disease, if any case will get any case, will not be possible.
We were expecting that at the border points, at least would have medics who are sensitized. The outpatient and triage, you'd find them in protective gear. And we are saying at the minimum, you expect them to be having a gown, a shield or a screen or goggles and a mask. And those things are actually not there. So if somebody were to come in with Ebola, the first person that will be infected is that nurse who is triaging, and the clinic officer will be able to diagnose and tell the others that this person might be having Ebola. And so, as a country, we must be people who learn from our experiences. When we came from West Africa, we gave them a very good report and even proposed, can we have a department that will be able to look at Ebola or the infectious diseases in terms of capacity building and responding, a rapid response team that trains health workers and will be able to respond and help them respond. That was not put in place until COVID-19. Now COVID-19 is here and we don't even seem to have learned from the lessons of COVID-19. We have not been able to learn and try and curb the shortage of health workers that we saw really affected us after COVID-19.
In our news making headlines in the business world, the government has exempted petroleum products from the annual excise tax inflation adjustment that takes effect this month. According to Kenya Revenue Authority Commissioner General Wambiru, the exemption aims at holding the runaway high cost of living characterized by the high cost of fuel.
Excisable products other than petroleum products. So all the other excisable products, we will make that adjustment. The only category we are going to leave out are petroleum products because of the currently very high prices of fuel. So we want to support Kenyans in ensuring that that price of fuel doesn't go higher. But for the other products, we have made that adjustment. It is by a requirement of the law. So we expect that Kenyans will comply.
In other news, Kenya's foreign exchange reserves are facing major threats from the deteriorating Kenyan shilling and rising import bills. The Central Bank of Kenya says the reserves that stand below 5 months of import cover have come under stress due to expensive commodities like oil and freight costs. This has forced the International Monetary Fund to provide emergency funding to countries facing food price shocks under an emergency credit facility.
Cited by international lenders due to its risk exposure to the global Forex Reserves crisis gripping the world economy. The country has seen its import bill jump to 2.23 trillion shillings in the 12 months to March 2022 against export earnings of 789 billion in the same period. The Central Bank of Kenya says through the Forex Reserves are well above the 4 months official cover to stand at 4.19 months as of September 29th. Thinning export margins and high commodity prices are stressing the reserves. A statement from the Apex Bank has said the official forex cover now stands at 890 billion shillings. This comes at a time when the board of the International Monetary Fund has established an emergency fund to support struggling economies in the world. The facility seeks to boost the forex reserves of countries facing acute famine to help them pay for imports. The emergency fund temporarily increases existing access limits assigned to a member country. This allows them to borrow up to 50% above their IMF quota under the IMF's rapid financing instrument and the rapid credit instrument launched in 2020 to help low-income countries. IMF says 345 million people across the globe are facing starvation due to a combination of climate shocks, the pandemic and regional conflicts that have disrupted food production and distribution, driving up the cost of feeding people. The IMF estimates that the current drought facing many countries will require $845 billion to cushion vulnerable households. Over 3.5 million Kenyans are facing severe food shortages.
Now, tourism value chain players in the resort town of Watamu, Kilifi County are organizing a 3-day musical festival targeting 4,000 international and local tourists. Let's take a look.
The Tourism Ministry has been looking into ways of revamping the tourism offerings across the country's parks, game reserves and along the coastline in order to attract more visitors. To that end, investors in the resort town of Watamu, Kilifi County, have organized the Seven Islands Festival targeting 4,000 people.
We want to do that festival because that idea started 3 years ago because there was a COVID, and then we want to do something to environment the tourists from the Kenyan people to come in the coast. So this festival for us is an opportunity to do something very special in the coast.
The organizers noted that they are recording good bookings from both local and international tourists who are coming in for the holiday and expressed optimism that the tourism season will boom.
We expect around 3,000, 4,000 people. The coast is already full, so they will be full from this Sunday.
Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Fodder farming is now becoming a popular venture in Kenya as the weather becomes more erratic around the world. The concept is becoming more popular in Kenya after suffering huge losses due to drought and the high cost of animal feeds. The government has partnered with the International Livestock Research Institute to help in the development and distribution of new breeds of grass that can withstand dry weather.
Kenya is undergoing one of the worst droughts in living memory, leaving close to 10 million Kenyans severely exposed to hunger in more than 20 counties. This has decimated close to 2 million livestock in pastoralist communities. Apart from the drought, the COVID-19 pandemic and tough economic conditions have made a bad situation worse. The dry condition have also made dairy farming challenging due to lack of pasture, with milk production dropping by more than 30% in the last 9 months. The government and the International Livestock Research Institute have partnered to educate dairy farmers on the importance of fodder farming.
Targeting these farmers, we also believe that they are the right people to implement some of the things that we are training here. So coming to this region, it's like we want to create an awareness that we have different types of forages that can do well in these ecological zones.
ILRI is helping in the areas of research and distribution of high-quality seeds that can withstand dry climatic conditions. Fodder that requires less rainfall compared to conventional crops such as maize and does not require the application of chemicals to sustain. Various research activities are being carried out at the Kapiti Research Station. These include livestock productivity through bioscience and integrated science programs. In Machakos, dairy farmers have been trained on various methods of fodder production.
Saa zingine chakula inaisha. Wakati mvua inachelewa, ile store ulikuwa umeweka, hiyo chakula inaisha. Na inapoisha, inakuwa ku-access food outside from our area inakuwa ni ngumu. Kwa hivyo sometimes you are forced. Pengine uuze ng'ombe sifungue. Kama ulikuwa na ng'ombe 6, unapunguza.
The farmers are now appealing to the government to help develop a long-term solution to further challenges in the area to deepen dairy farming in the country. For a very long time, farmers have been unable to achieve optimum production due to high cost of feeds and lack of knowledge. But from lessons learned today, we hope they increase their sales and production. Reporting for KBC Channel 1 from Machakos County, I'm Terry Njenga.
The UK government has U-turned on plans to scrap the 45 pennies rate of income tax. The Chancellor has confirmed. Kwasi Kwarteng said the proposals announced just 10 days ago had become a massive distraction on what was a strong package. Here are the details of these and other stories making headlines across the globe.
The decision, which marks a humiliating climb down for Prime Minister Liz Truss, comes after several Tory MPs voiced their opposition to the plan. Former Cabinet Minister Grant Shapps had warned the Prime Minister would lose a Commons vote on the proposal. The plan to scrap the rate paid by people earning over £150,000 a year had been criticised as unfair. At a time of rising living costs, Labour called for the government to reverse their whole economic discredited trickle-down strategy. Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves said the U-turn came too late for families who will pay the higher mortgages and higher prices for years to come. Meanwhile, Moderna has refused to hand over to China the core intellectual property behind the development of its COVID-19 vaccine, leading to a collapse in negotiations on its sale there. The Cambridge, Massachusetts-based pharmaceutical company turned down China's request to hand over the recipe for its mRNA vaccine because of commercial and safety concerns. Finally, oil prices jumped more than 3% in early Asian trade on Monday, as OPEC Plus considers cutting output by more than 1 million barrels a day for its biggest reduction since the pandemic in a bid to support the market. Brent crude futures rebounded $2 or 3% to $87 a barrel, after settling down 0.6% on Friday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was also up 3% or $2 at $81 a barrel, after the previous session's loss of 2.1%.
Now, in the sports arena, national women's volleyball team Alkea Strikers returned home last night from the Netherlands, where they took part in the ongoing 2022 FIVB World Championship. The 9-time African champions were bundled out at the group stage of the global showpiece after registering a single win against African rivals Cameroon.
Malkia Strikers' journey at the World Championship in the Netherlands came to a halt on Saturday after losing by 3-1 to Puerto Rico in their last Pool A match. Kenya finished 5th in Group A to miss out on a top 4 place that would have guaranteed them a slot in the second round for the first time in history. European champions Italy, Belgium, Netherlands and Puerto Rico qualified for the second round from Pool A. Kenya's only win came against their African rivals Cameroon, who finished bottom without a point. First rising Sharon Chepchumba was Kenya's top scorer with 66 points, while debutant Veronica Adhiambo was placed second with 50 points. The 16 teams which have qualified for the second round will be divided into 2 groups of 8 each, with the top 4 teams in each group qualifying for the quarterfinals.
Top seed Novak Djokovic claimed his first title since winning Wimbledon in July with a dominant display against Marin Cilic at the Tel Aviv Open. Djokovic did not face a breakpoint in the first set as he beat second seed Cilic in his first final since his All-England club triumph. The world number 7 never looked likely to drop his first set of the tournament in a 6-3, 6-4 victory. Djokovic was ruled out of the US Open in August and September after being unable to enter the United States because of his coronavirus vaccination status. Karim Benzema missed a late penalty as Real Madrid dropped points for the first time this season when they were held to a 1-1 draw by 10-man Osasuna at the Bernabeu. In Italy, Juventus beat Bologna 3-0.